is to see it in action. Let's return to the radio station negotiations and watch Roger prepare the potential buyer for a second meeting with the owner of that station.
Roger, the guy's a mule. He wants $14 million for his share. That's all he wants to talk about. I can't reach him. I don't know what's going on with him.
What do you want? What's the company want here?
The company...
What's the purpose of this negotiation from your point of view?
The company wants the station. It's a good station. We'd like to buy it. It would fit nicely. It's got some profits. We could offset against some losses.
You told me you've already got an option on 2/3 of the station from the other owner.
Yeah, I've got to have 80% of the station before I can put the losses and the profits together. I can't do it with that 80%.
You need 80% of the station.
80%.
And when you get the station, what do you want to bid? What are you going to do with it?
Well, it's a good station. There's no real sense in changing it. I'd like to have a good transition, one that doesn't look like we've taken over the station. Want to keep the talent, want to keep the management. Generally, make no waves in the market.
What I'm doing here is looking behind the company's position, $8 million, and the radio station's position, $14 million, for the underlying interests, the concerns that lie behind that, and try to find out what Mr. Gillum wants, what kinds of things he needs, not just wants, but what he really needs to satisfy his concerns. And then we'll look at the other side, what the station owner needs. So you need 80% ownership in order to have the consolidate the books.
That's enough.
And on the operation of the station, what do you need there? What do you want there?
Well, I'd like to have a good operation, a good smooth operation. Basically, what it's been doing.
Let's go talk to him and see if we can find out what his concerns are.
Lots of luck.
You've just seen the most important part of the negotiation, which is the preparation. Most negotiations are won or lost, done well or done poorly, even before the negotiators get to the table, simply in the quality of preparation that they bring to that table. You can't wing it in negotiation. You put yourself at an enormous disadvantage if you do that. Let's watch Roger Fisher use the value of effective preparation to negotiate on behalf of the buyer.
Mr. Bryant, what do you really want in this situation?
As I've said, I want $14 million. I made that very clear.
What will you do with the money you have?
Well, I don't think that's really any of your business.
Fair enough, and I want to understand what you care about, because if we're going to make a deal, it's only with your agreement. It's only a deal you want. What do you want in this station?
What I care about is this station. This is more than just a job for me. It's something that I thoroughly enjoy. I built from the ground up. I feel like I'd be selling one of my children.
In talking to Mr. Gillum, I discovered that what his company really wants in owning the station, they want to own enough of the station so they can consolidate their books with the other stations that you've got, a number of other radio stations. That means you have to have...
I have to have 80%.
80% ownership, not 100%.
No, I need 80%, but I gotta have 80%.
And the 2/3 you have an option on is not enough.
No, I gotta buy a share.
See, the fact he doesn't need it all makes me think there may be some possibility of an arrangement here which leaves you with the station.
Well, that 80% is something new. I didn't hear that the first time, but...
No, you want to buy a station, 66% wasn't enough. But would that meet some of your concerns?
Well, not really. Because suppose I continue as an owner in a minority position. Sure, that's where I am now, but would I have creative control?
That's what's that mean, creative control? Why do you do that? You actually decide what programs?
I decide what programs. More importantly, I decide the overall format.
Creative control. What else do you like?
I like the ability to manage the station. I like the ability to participate in its growth.
Yeah, management, participation. Does your company object to such things in other stations?
Roger, it sounds like to me he wants the world. He wants a ton of money, he wants creative control, he wants management, he wants the whole thing.
We're looking at what his interests are. What are your interests? You have no interest in changing management.
Not per se. I have some concerns.
What are they?
Well, I'm not sure that Mr. Bryant and my company get along. He's just said, how big companies operate. If we don't get along, if this station goes into dumpers, I've got the risk.
Well, what you need an interest there in protection against downsides. The station starts losing money or not doing well. You want some kind of downside protection.
Yes, I need downside protection.
And you wouldn't mind just getting a piece of the action going up if it goes well.
Well, you know, again, I'd have to work with him to find out, you know, how he's going to run this place and get comfortable with him. Right now, we're not doing too well.
Oh, why are you doing fine? You're disagreeing about money, but let's come back up to the money question. If you bought out half Mr. Bryant's interest right now, you were offering $8 million at 8 times cash flow for his share. Half of that would be $4 million, 8 times. Suppose we split the difference between, I'm just not asking for commitments now, I'm just trying to think a little bit. $4.5 million would be 9 times cash flow for a share of interest. You're not taking the station away from him. You would, as I see this thing, you'd still be the station manager. It's your station. You're still running it. You're an owner of it.
But for how long? I mean, we've talked about different kinds of contracts, and maybe some of those would work. There might be different triggers in there.
You want a long term.
I want a long term.
And you?
I'd like to have it short as possible.
Why?
He's an unknown to me. You know, we've got some risk in here. We're playing up a ton of money.
He's run the station for 5 years. Well, you know that track record.
The radio station's initial position, as you'll recall, was $14 million. But as the negotiation unfolds, you begin to see what his underlying interests are. He's interested in continuing to be a manager of the station. He wants to remain as an owner of the station. He wants a good price. He wants the ability to make more if the station does well. And he wants to stay in the community. That's the central point. Looking behind positions for what are the underlying interests. Asking why not, and putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Those are the main points we want to leave you with at the end of this segment. The purpose of negotiation is to satisfy your interests and the other side's interests too. Now, the reason you spend so much time probing behind positions for what are the underlying interests is to be able to invent options that satisfy both sides' interests. In the next segment, we're going to look at exactly how you go about the process of inventing those options for mutual gain.
Would you like to see another